All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sharpe Minds podcast. I am your host, Michael Lafata, and this episode is going to be amazing. We are joined by someone who is well known and extremely respected in the wealth management industry, someone who has a front row seat to many of the trends and developments that are taking place within our industry, and someone who really knows how to build a team and an organization that is grounded in loyalty and great culture. That someone is Mr. Tom Halloran. Tom, thank you so much for taking the time to be here. It's a privilege for me to have you on the show, so thank you so much.
You're most welcome. It's good to be with you too, Michael.
Awesome. Well, let me provide a proper introduction and background for you, and then we can jump right into it. So, Tom, you're currently the president and CEO of Cetera Advisors and the president of Cetera Wealth Partners. You're responsible for the overall growth, strategy, and management of both of these communities. You've been working with financial advisors in various capacities for over 36 years, and prior to your current role, you served as the president of Voya Financial Advisors, held a board seat there, and also served on the board of directors for Voya Financial Partners and Voya Insurance Solutions. And then prior to that, you served as a managing director at Bank of America Merrill Lynch. So it's safe to say you have so much knowledge and experience, and it's going to be great to dive into some topics and hear what you have to say on them.
Thank you. As you went through all that, you just made me feel old.
That's old is not the right terminology to think of. Experienced is how I was thinking about it.
I appreciate it. It's been a fantastic time to be in the financial services business. I started back in 1988. Seen a lot along the way, and I do believe the best is still yet to come. So.
Yeah, and one of the things we'll dive into is sort of the evolution of technology and some of that stuff that is sort of taking place. So to your point, it's we might see so many new evolutions and developments over the next couple of years that it's going to be fascinating to watch.
I would agree with that.
But all right, let's dive into the first topic on our list today. I've been fortunate to be a part of your team. I was very lucky to have my first role in this industry as somebody on your team. So I got to witness firsthand, how you've been able to build a team that is so loyal and has such amazing culture, has a great work ethic, people that are fun to work with, people that are fun to be around. How do you think you've been able to foster a team that is so grounded in loyalty and maintaining the strong culture?
Well, I think first of all, I appreciate you saying that. That's it's always nice to hear. And I would say I've been very fortunate to have, as you said, people that have been very loyal, very hardworking. And I do think the team culture and dynamic matters a ton, right? When, I go on vacation and I don't worry for 1 minute as to how my team worked and did we take care of our clients while I was gone. I haven't worried about that, and I can't even tell you how long. And so, to your point, I think that's a litmus test for exactly that. I've been very fortunate to hire great people along the way. I think, as someone else had asked me, what does it take to build a good team, and what does it take to maintain that level of both integrity and loyalty? And I would tell you, I think it starts with two things. It starts with trust, and it starts with care. The reality of it is trust is typically earned over time, and anybody would say that. I think the big thing for me is the caring piece, right? When you interview the right people and you ask specific questions and you get the sense that they care about their work and they care about their colleagues, they care about the client, it goes a long way. And I think for myself, I'd like to think for myself that my team always got the impression that I invested in them. I cared a lot about their development. I cared a lot about their career. And we focused a lot of that and taking care of our client. The client was always the true north, right? The team did well when the client did well. Our business grew because we took care of our clients. And I think that's a big thing that I see in some of our best financial advisors today is that same element of care. And then that trust has been built and you watch those businesses grow. But that has worked for me for a long period of time. I don't think I've had anyone say that they didn't get the sense that I cared and watched them grow. And some have gone on to wonderful things and are leading other firms in that distribution. I would tell you that even for my own kids, I've been a big beneficiary of mentorship. And I think as someone who both has been mentored by great folks along the way, that was always there ask in return, right? You can't really repay them, much like you can't really repay your parents in any way, shape, or form. But what you can do is you can do that in return by doing it for somebody else. And so that's not lost on me either, right? If you mentor others, again, it's that element of caring, nurturing, and then watching them and taking pride in their development and success.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's extremely well put. Um, it's something I witnessed firsthand as well. And it's interesting going from, being a part of the team to actually now being on the other side, right? Being an advisor and being part of, getting the support from your team. It's very interesting to see both sides, and exactly what you said is 100% accurate, and I can fully attest to it. In You've been managing groups of people for a long time, right? And you've had a lot of success doing it. You've seen, you know, a lot of periods of disruption and growth. What are some of the leadership lessons that you think you've learned throughout this period of time, and through all those periods of guidance?
Well, I think some of the big things are you need to be visible, right? And so I think a lot of times when you go through bad markets, right, and you see that clients are uneasy or there's anxiousness, anxiety, and there's stress. One of the best things that you can do is to be visible, right, and stay in front of folks and communicate with folks and let them know in many respects that you're watching and that you're paying attention and then you understand what's happening and yet you can make adjustments along the way. I think that again goes back to something that I see some of our best financial advisors do. When markets go down, they're more visible.
Yep.
And in some firms and in some instances, that's not the case, right? They tend to want to stay away. They don't want to do that same element of work because those are tough calls to make sometimes. But your better financial advisors know that those that are not in this business every single day, that don't watch this every single day,
Hmm.
don't get all the same information that we do, don't have that same degree of comfort. And so by staying visible, it's gone a long way. When I think of the firms that we've had along the way and the firms that I've been asked to rebuild, and I've had three of those instances where I've been asked to go in and take something over and rebuild it, staying close to those that have been there for both a long period and short period of time, um, spending the time in the office listening to what's happening here and why clients are happy, why clients are unhappy. I find that the more you can get involved in that back and forth and that Q&A is going to eventually lead to a field that may be foggy. And then all of a sudden you start to see glimpses of sunshine, right? That there's more there than you would have thought. And it'll help you make better decisions because you've not only had an opportunity to ask good questions, assess as you gather data to show you where you need to invest your time.
So it seems like sort of the root of your strategy is basically like client service 101, right? What does the client want, right? What is the feedback from the client? What's the feedback from the customer? Is that pretty accurate?
That is accurate.
Awesome. And so you touched on, you know, being a top advisor, or what separates, that cohort, apart from the others. Um, but sort of let's extrapolate that a little bit, and let's dive further into that. Outside of the visibility piece that you mentioned, what sort of traits and qualities do top advisors have that separates them from the rest of the pack? You've been able to see hundreds, if not thousands, of different advisor groups, all across the country operate their business. And, I can say that you can agree probably that every advisor runs a business completely different, right? Every person's different. They have all different clients. It's not really a one size fits all type of industry. But as sort of like as that top percent, right? What separates those advisors from the rest?
So what's interesting in wealth management in particular is, you have different ways you can run a business. I have reps, for example, that do a tremendous job on the 401k business, and some will focus on retirement. Some will do will do both, and they'll focus with small business owners. And so the nice thing in our business in particular is you can basically find a group that you want to specialize in, or you can be a generalist. But to your question, regardless of which um, camp that you sit in, what you find more often than not is that the advisors there have found a way to show the trust element that I mentioned on. They are considered a trusted advisor, as we like to use that phrase, right? They are people that are dedicated to their trade. They work exceptionally hard. They're smart, well educated, and they care a lot about their clients. I heard a line a long time ago, and one of my mentors used to use it too. It's, are you in the business or is the business in you? And I think for the top advisors that I see here at Cetera and the other firms that I've worked with, what you get the sense is the business is in them, right? They think about it all the time. This is not a 9 to 5 job. They're masters of their trade. They put a lot into it, and as a result, they get a lot out of it.
So you wouldn't say it's necessarily work ethic or practice management or anything like that. It's more so just how they think about the industry, right? Their I guess mindset, right, is sort of what separates them.
It's a big part of it because, look, anybody can work hard by saying, I put in a lot of hours.
Right.
Did you put in a lot of hours or did you work hard? And so that definition is always a funny one, right? I worked all day long. Okay, but did you accomplish a lot, right? I would say for example, I think I can accomplish more in 15 minutes than folks could complete in 2 hours,
Hmm.
right? And you could probably say the same thing because the business is in you. And I think it's a big piece of it. Is where do you derive satisfaction from your role? For me, it's having my clients happy, right? It's having conversations where they say, this has been great. We're glad you instituted this, right? Or my office is more efficient. Our office is growing as a result of a tool that we have here at Cetera, or something that we've been able to adopt because we heard it
Hmm.
from peers in the business. And so you get all aspects of it. But a lot of that is just the feedback loop that comes with, wanting to see something through. As we get in here in spring, you'd liken it to gardening,
Hmm.
right? If you water it and you give it sun and you feed it along the way, it's nice to see things grow. And you get that element of satisfaction as a result of that.
Is that how you've been able to sort of quantify the success that you've had um, in providing a good service to your clients, right? Is it just their feedback? Is that primarily it?
It's feedback that leads to that basically validates and supports numbers. And so for me in particular, for someone who's, as you said nicely in the beginning, been around for a while, um, I've always been someone who looks at the numbers and wants to see growth. So I always say I'm a big from to guy. We started here, and that's my from, and we grew it to here. And so as you look at numbers and you watch the growth take over, you then look inside to say, how are we doing what we're doing? And is it working? What were the strategies that we put in
Hmm.
place, right? Are they yielding dividends that we thought based on the investment that we made? And as a result of it, your comment, yeah, the satisfactions happen along the way. You get thank yous, you get notes, you get nice emails that says, I did this, and that was something that we put in place, and off we go. And so all of those things along the way are supported and validated by numbers and comments. But the numbers really, for any business, are going to tell the real story, right?
Right.
It's nice to hear you're trying. I like to say the trying is great, succeeding's better
Hmm.
because succeeding has trying in it.
Right. Right. I like that. And so, speaking about numbers, right? What we've seen over the past couple years, which it just seems like it's just continuing to snowball on itself, is the consolidation within the industry, right? So we'll speak from sort of where we're at, right? Independent broker dealers, they've just continued to consolidate. You've seen larger BDs buying up smaller ones, a lot of stuff like that. And you've even seen it in like the RA space, right? A lot of consolidation has taken place. What do you think that this means for what do you think that this means for the industry? All this consolidation.
Well, I think a few things come out of what's been happening here with the mergers and acquisitions that you've seen within wealth management. So maybe a good place to start is what we've seen here, even at Cetera. As you're seeing this, our business quickly become more of an oligopoly than anything else. I can speak to what we did. We were at Voya Financial Advisors prior to coming. As a matter of fact, it was 4 years ago today, right? Today was actually our 4 year anniversary, ironically, that we came to Cetera on June 10th in 2021. Since that period of time, Cetera's made three additional acquisitions. You've seen Securian come in 2023. You saw Avantex in 2023. And then just in February, we closed on Concourse Financial out of Birmingham, Alabama. And so, to your point, you continue to see consolidation in the space. It happens for a lot of different reasons, and why it's happening here is, quite frankly, is um, really the rising cost of the entrance into this business. You're not seeing a lot of new entrants into the business. What you're seeing is consolidation. It's a thin margin business, as an example, but between rising cost of technology, right, rising cost of service, and the expectation of clients to continue to have high quality service, as well as the rising cost of compliance. We're a highly regulated business.
Hmm.
And as a result of that, all three of those things lead to additional expenditures, which weigh in on margins. And so you have to be mindful of that, and you need a firm that's got enough scale, like we do here at Cetera, to be able to absorb the cost of acquisition, and then provide additional services to your existing client base. And that has happened. With our acquisitions, we've actually gained knowledge, expertise, and high quality staffing that has led to our growth, and our reps have seen it. When I think of what we brought over with Voya, remember once upon a time there was a firm that manufactured insurance product. We've worked real hard with some third parties, and now we have an industry-leading electronic account opening model that we largely helped influence based on our prior knowledge of how to process business. So we've made our offices more efficient. When I think of things like Securian, when we brought Securian, had a trust company, which has gone over well. We now have Cetera Trust Company as a result of that, which we can now offer to our clients, and in particular, a lot of our higher net worth clients here at Cetera. I think of Avantex. We've got product specialists, and then we've also got some business evaluation tools that they were able to bring. And so, through all these acquisitions, if implemented correctly, can lead to satisfaction not only from the firms that have joined us, but also for people like yourself in your office,
Yep.
where you now have additional tools, you have additional expertise, so that you can service your clients. And that's really what it's all about. So the acquisitions, I think a lot have stemmed from it, but it is something that should continue to take place here, right? It's like a lot of businesses, um, this one too is still in consolidation mode.
Yeah. Certainly a lot that we can, sort of touch on there. Um, I would say from people looking at it from the outside, right, from the end client point of view, sort of from the people that we work with, day to day, how should they view the rationale or the vision or the strategy behind these acquisitions, right? Is it sort of to summarize what you said, just to provide a better product to that client? Is it more to gather assets, right? How should the end client, view this, view the consolidation and the acquisitions?
Well, I think in our perspective that in many cases the end client may not see all aspects, right? And that's why we rely heavily on our financial advisors, right? Every one of your clients is a personal relationship that has individual needs. And as I went through, all the things that we are able to offer in addition to things that we've offered here for a long period of time,
Hmm.
I think that what that does is it puts our advisors in a better position to service more clients, and for those in particular that may have some nuances, right? How do you access capital when you own a business? As a small business owner is one good example of that. When you get to the stage of I want to retire, but should I continue to work and do something else? Should I take my distribution? And do I have the right products for those folks? Right? That's where what we're really trying to do is to arm our advisors to be in the best position possible to service their clients.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So you think that this trend is something that will continue going forward and is healthy for the industry?
I do. I think what's happening is that as we continue to add more firms, we add more advisors, we add more of their clients.
Hmm.
I believe that part of the Cetera advantage is exactly that. We offer more resources, we offer more tools so that we can help you service your clients better. And as a result of that, we're helping grow their asset base. And as they say, who doesn't want
Hmm.
more money?
Right. Right. One part of the wealth management industry that has been growing very quickly over the past few years is the RIA space. Do you think the um, lack of options, right, so to speak, within the independent broker dealer, um, business might cause more advisors to go the RA route, or do you think that the independent BDs will, still be able to attract top advisor talent and maintain that talent?
Well, you're seeing consolidation in the RIA space too,
Yep.
right? It's
Yep.
it's a it's a different area where they don't have um, the brokerage type accounts and some of the products associated with that. But the reality of it is they're in consolidation mode too. And here
Hmm.
at Cetera, we actually offer that as another channel and mechanism for our own advisors. And some have moved into the RIA space. And so we do see that as a growth engine. But as we have said time and time again, for all of our advisors and for their clients, we want this to be your last home. And so as we think about different business models, as any business would, you think about different business models that give your clients what they want. And so here at Cetera, in addition to what we consider a hybrid um, affiliation, which is probably something more than your listeners would have known, we do offer an independent RIA option for you and for your clients as well.
Awesome. And that's, one of the, to your point earlier about being able to offer a whole swath of different services to advisors, right? The continuing to grow and expand, add other services under the umbrella. That's one of them, right? That's just one example that you just spoke to.
Right, that's exactly right.
Perfect. And so to sort of stay on this path, technology and the innovation that we've seen within technology over the past, it's really started not too long ago, but it just seems like every day it's just continuing to grow and grow and grow. And in an industry that historically is not a tech focused industry, we're seeing it, every day impact our industry, and it's awesome to see. Um, but so, how does Cetera view, a technology like artificial intelligence? Right? Is that something that they're actively thinking about? I know there's some tools that are available to advisors to use, but tell me a little bit about the strategy and the thought process with a technology like AI.
So technology is a big part of our business today in general, right? I mean, so many folks, especially after coming out of COVID, which seems like it was a long time ago, right, have realized that there's a lot of things that we can do to not only get the information that we want, but we can maintain relationships without necessarily being together all the time, right? And so I think you've seen a lot of innovation in the space that, from an unfortunate situation, has led to the overall adoption of technology for some folks that probably wouldn't have been there as fast, right? And so I think that the tech investments we've had historically seen is how do we do things electronically to get things done, which is, I've got to change beneficiaries. I need to get money moved from my account. Where once upon a time you were going into a physical location, now everything's, e-sign, right? And there's a lot of different ways to accomplish just that. From an AI perspective, we're mindful of two things. One, much like anyone, we're mindful of privacy policies, right? We're mindful of the fact that we want to use tools that we believe will be compliant and that's going to protect our customers, right? And just like you want to protect your clients not only from an asset perspective, but you want to protect them from any interruption as it relates to artificial intelligence. We feel the same way, right? We want to put you in a position of success. We want to put your clients in a position of success. We don't want to put them in harm's way. One of the things that we have done to help our advisors grow because I do and have said many times, I think our team, we're very good listeners and we're good problem
Hmm.
solvers. And so one of the things we'd heard a lot is that that our advisors spend a lot of time taking notes when it comes to your client accounts and making sure that we document all of the discussions that we have. Much like this particular meeting, I always feel that if you're engaged in conversation and there would be a different way for us to capture all of the information, why wouldn't we use it? And so we've been able to introduce tools that, quite frankly, can record the conversations, put them into a usable format that can be obviously edited if needed along the way. But the reality of it is, we are able to capture conversations so that you can stay engaged, go back, look at your notes, and make sure that you heard everything correctly. Or as you've done on this meeting, ask clarifying questions that get us to a better place.
Yep.
That technology will save our advisors in some cases 10 to 15 hours a week because you're not having to go back and then input all the notes that you heard. They can easily be captured. They can be uploaded. If there are specific tasks that take place, they can be sent to somebody in the office so that clients get what they want and they get it faster. And so there are a lot of ways that we can make offices more efficient through AI. And there's just one example of that.
Do you see the advisor tech stack continuing to evolve pretty rapidly over the next few years?
Yes. And so there are two different ways to do it. You can build it or you can buy it.
Right.
What we have done really well is a little bit of both, right? Not to answer it in a operations management type of way, but it depends. If there are things that we can control and we have the expertise, whether we have homegrown it or we procured it through some of our acquisitions where we've hired some wonderful people that have come over with these transactions. Um, you can do it that way, and then you can also get the expertise like we did with one of our new tools that is now helping our advisors through meetings, right? There's another example of doing just that. It depends upon what it is, if it can get us there faster, and if it can get us there at the right price, because after all, we're running a business, so we're
Right.
mindful of both revenue and expenses.
How are you seeing client expectations, particularly among younger, more tech-savvy investors, evolve? And what do you think some? Actually, I'll sort of leave it at that with that question.
Well, if feedback is one of the things we spoke of early
Yep.
on, the feedback about this AI tool from advisors was remarkable, right? They were from some of our younger advisors that I would say, I guess, at my age, maybe 45 or younger is considered my younger advisors.
Hmm.
I would say that has gone over very, very well, but we're getting the same feedback from others, which is um, advisors want to take care of clients and they want to be in front of clients, right? And what we don't want them doing are things that are more administrative that can be handled in a different manner. And I think that's why this has gone over so well, right? What you're saying, Rep Say, is finally, I'm accomplishing things I needed to accomplish, but you're not distracting me from what I really want to do, which is to spend time with my clients, listening to their needs and their goals, and figuring out ways to solve it without doing something that really isn't what I want to do day to day.
Hmm. No, it's a great point, and I actually heard an advisor a couple weeks ago mention that these new AI tools that he's implementing are saving him an hour and a half per client meeting
There
of
you go.
extra work, which is it's if you're having quite a few meetings a week, that's a lot of time that's being saved.
No, it's funny. I can remember talking to uh, my doctor not too long ago, and he said, this part of my job is tough. I spend an hour with a client, but I have about an hour and a half worth of paperwork and things I need to accomplish
Hmm.
for each one. Where if you could make it easier on me, I could probably see two people in a world where we need them to see more people,
Yeah.
right? And I think that same element is almost appropriate here because as clients get older, and stay longer, and your businesses continue to grow with their family members, and you add more client accounts. My hope is that we will be able to save you time administratively so that you can help more people, reach their goals.
Yeah. It's interesting. You don't, in a business that is heavily regulated, a lot of compliance. We don't really often see the parallels in other industries, right? And it's often humbling to take a step back sometimes and just look at how other industries often face some of the similar hurdles and issues that we have to deal with as well.
It's true. I think the one thing that you hear from time and time again, regardless of the business you're in, is we all suffer um, from this lack of time.
Yeah.
It just the time constraint and consumption is a big hurdle for every business. We wish we had more hours in the day. I wish I had more of me, right? Me being a collective, not me personally.
Yeah.
But either way, it's time and attention.
Yeah, totally agree. Time is everything. Let's sort of wrap up our last topic, or let's move into the next topic, the future of advice. Right? What do you think the future of advice looks like? Right? We have a lot of, I mentioned, younger tech savvy investors, coming up. You have a huge generational wealth transfer that is going to take place soon. What do you think the future of our industry looks like? The future of financial advice? Give us a little couple thoughts there.
Well, I think in some respects, the future of advice will remain the same because you're always going to have people that have needs. And we work in a sophisticated business, and it's hard to stay on top of every day if you're not in it every single day, right? And then um, I think what's going to change, the difference will be, is the mechanism. And so what you've already seen part of it evolve, right? We've gone, as I mentioned earlier on, you've gone from everything had to be face to face, right? I come in, you come into my office, regardless of how far you had to drive, or I'll go to your home, and everything had to be in person. And now people are very comfortable, like you and I are today, being in two different locations. We saved a ton of time, either
Yep.
you coming here, myself going there. It's no different than you and your client. You don't have to be in the same room together to accomplish something. And so I think that evolution has taken place. With artificial intelligence, right, will be a whole nother mechanism of that, right? Which is how can we do things together? How can I get more information? How can I make my office more efficient? How can I help my client get things done
Mhm.
faster, better, but yet still delivering for them, regardless of where they are in the country or even the world, because we all want to travel,
Right.
right? And in many cases, often you hear you need three things, right? You need time, you need money, and you need health. And I think those three things won't change. It's how you bucket what you have,
Hmm.
right, to make sure that you can accomplish any of all of them, as well as we all want to take care of our families,
Right.
right? And that looks different for everybody. So I think the future advice is there. I think the big challenge is, quite frankly, um, we work in a world where there's less financial advisors. And I think that our ability to help people like you and a lot of your colleagues be able to handle more clients over time is a big challenge. But I do think through technology and our investments, and how we can help, that together we'll be able to service our clients, service them well, and serve them in a satisfactory way.
So you to just sort of to sum that up, you see all these new technologies being able to give more power to financial advisors to provide a better product to the client rather than um, eliminating advisors from their role.
I don't think there'll ever be a time when financial advisors are eliminated.
Yeah.
I think that this is a extremely valuable career for folks, and I think it's an extremely important one, right? I don't know of a person out there, unless you pick a number, that isn't worried about one thing, which is I don't want to run out of money,
Right.
right? How you take distributions, where you take them from, how you invest dollars appropriately to make it last is super important. And then we all want to give some back to our children one day, right? And so I think that the value of advice, the value of financial planning, the way that you um, take your distributions to be able to live and have a great time doing it is something that everybody wants, and I can't imagine that going away.
Right. I totally agree. Totally agree. One thing that we always finish up with is, I like to ask this question about, tell me about one thing that has stuck with you throughout your career, right? It could be a quote, maybe a lesson that you've learned, something somebody told you, whatever it could be. It could be funny, it could be quirky, it could be serious, right? What comes to mind when you think of a moment like that?
I guess two things come to mind. I'll give you a quote, and then I'll give you a lesson that maybe I've even mentioned to my children and my employees for sure. Um, in my office, there's a little quote that hangs. It was a quote from Aristotle, and it says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit." And I think for those of us that are process driven, right, and I think of a lot of things, quite frankly, as an assembly line to completion, that that holds true, and that has held true in my career, right?
Hmm.
Um, it's it's a habit because it's in you. We talked about that earlier on.
Yep.
And then the other thing I think about is, as I'll say to the kids once in a while, how was your day? It was good. Well, why be good when great's available, right? How can you have a great day versus a good day? And I think that's on all of us, right? It's your outlook on life. It's the attitude that we decide we're going to have today and every day that'll make the difference, maybe for you and maybe for somebody else.
I like that a lot. I really do. That's it's probably something I'll think about pretty frequently going forward. Awesome. Well, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Tom. You have world-class insights and knowledge to share with everybody. So thank you for taking the time to do that with us today. It's been a pleasure to speak with you. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to be with you and anytime. Thank you for all of what you do for your clients as well.
You got it. Of course. We will continue to do that. And thank you so much for everybody for tuning in. It's feel free to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more. We got plenty of good stuff coming. So thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Sharpe Minds is produced and hosted by Michael LaFata and directed and edited by Alex Weimer. Our music is made by Tony Sapiato and licensed through Soundstripe. Michael LaFata, Financial Advisor, Archstone Financial, 508-453-9800, 324 Grove Street, Worcester, Massachusetts, 01605. Securities and advisory services are offered through Cetera Advisor Networks LLC, member FINRA, SIPC, a broker, dealer, and registered investment advisor. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. Archstone Financial is not a subsidiary nor controlled by Cetera Wealth Partners. The views stated in this podcast are not necessarily the opinion of Cetera Advisor Networks LLC and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Due to volatility within the markets mentioned, opinions are subject to change without notice. Information is based on sources believed to be reliable. However, their accuracy or completeness cannot be guaranteed. Past performance does not guarantee future results.